Visual Honey.
Hi everyone! So today I will be talking about ant infestation and how to help and get rid of ants when they are in your hamster's cage. So I'll be sharing a number of different ways and also the steps that you should take before going on to target the issue. And as you all know, if you follow my channel, I used to keep ants. I don't anymore, but because I kept ants before, so I have actually a number of ways that we actually use to prevent ants from escaping from the enclosure if it's an open enclosure. And that is also one of the ways that you can improve your hamster's cage so that the ants don't actually go into the enclosure. So let's move on to the next part of this video where I will talk about the steps you have to take first when you encounter an ant infestation. Firstly, if you realize that there are ants in your cage, what should you first do? Okay, to reduce risk of your hamster getting bitten by an ant, though actually in the wild the hamsters wouldn't mind eating ants, but there are some ants that can be quite dangerous, like fire ants or ants that actually sting. It can actually hurt your hamster. So it's ideal to get rid of any ant infestation in your cage because likely you won't be sure whether it is harmful or not. And if it gets really serious, the ants will actually haunt the place, like they will come in and like always rampage for food in the hamster cage because they already know that there's food there. So number one thing that you should do is remove your hamster immediately. Place your hamster aside and actually do a full cage clean. So I would like to say that before you start with the whole cage clean, you also have to prepare the materials that you will need, which will be mentioned in the next part of this video on how you can prevent the ants from coming back into the enclosure. So number one, do a full cage clean and replace all the things in the enclosure and also give everything a wash, like wash and sterilize all the furniture and accessories that your hamster uses. This is so that there isn't any other ants that are like somewhere inside the cage, and it wouldn't help if you actually apply what I tell you next that will keep the ants away because the ants will still be inside the cage. So this is the first step that you need to do. And let's move on to the different ways that you can actually improve the cage or get rid of the problem entirely. So let's move on to the different ways that you can actually target this problem and improve your cage. Number one, this will be the easiest way to obtain from your house without having to buy anything. So this is like the first step. If you don't have anything else at the moment and you want to have your hamster immediately. So number one is to actually make a water moat around your enclosure. How you can do this is if your enclosure is small enough and you will be able to actually put a tray beneath your enclosure, then that will actually prevent the ants from crawling into the cage because it is surrounded by a water moat, and the ants will actually drown in it instead. So these are the number of ways that you can actually utilize a water moat. And in number one, you can see that you use furniture or something to prop up the cage, and then because there is a smaller surface area, you can actually use a smaller tray to actually create a water moat. And in number two, you actually find a tray that is larger than the base of your cage if you are able to, and then put water around the tray. And in number three, you can actually get a smaller tray than your cage and you actually prop up the cage so that the ants are not able to directly climb onto the cage, but they have to go through the tray, so they end up drowning in the water. So actually you can use not just one piece because it would be a bit difficult to balance the whole weight on one object in the tray. So actually you can use a number of trays if your tray is too small. So these are the kind of orientations that you can try when using a water mode. But if your ants are actually fire ants, then it wouldn't be very helpful, but it would be helpful for most types of ants. The second solution would be to use a mixture of talcum powder or baby powder if you don't have access to baby powder, but I would not really recommend baby powder because it is scented more strongly, and the hamsters may be sensitive to the scent. So this is really more of an emergency measure like the water mode, and it will not truly solve the ant problem, but this is one of the temporary ways that you can actually help control the ants from entering the hamster's cage. So what you have to do is you have to buy alcohol, and then you mix the talcum powder or baby powder together with the alcohol. Why we have to use alcohol is because it suspends the powder and it evaporates very quickly, so it actually helps to keep the powder on the surface of the hamster's cage. So how you have to apply it? You have to apply it vertically because ants are amazing apparently, so they will actually persist in climbing up, and they will be able to have some sort of grip if you actually apply it horizontally instead of vertically. So there is also another material that you can use to actually improve the outside of your hamster's cage to prevent the ants from climbing up. You can actually try Vaseline if you have it on hand, but Vaseline is not effective for all kinds of ants. Some ants will actually be able to climb through that, and if you're using Vaseline, it can be really messy and not very easy to clean, and also visually messy as well. So that's one of the emergency methods they can use, and some ants will actually use dirt to cover the Vaseline or dust so that they will be able to walk over the sticky material. So that is something that you need to take note of. There is also another solution that is a commercial product that you actually buy to keep ants from crawling up a surface. So they actually sell this for people who actually keep ants in an open cage. So you can also consider getting that as well to prevent ants from climbing into your cage by applying it on the outside of your hamster's cage. But disclaimer, I personally would not use that because I'm not too sure what the ingredients are in that, and I'm not too sure if it may be harmful for my hamster, but it is an option that I would like to share with you. So that is option number 2, method number 2, that you can actually improve your cage, but it does not solve the ant infestation problem. It does not actually solve the ant infestation problem. So next, I will show you the next method that you can use that will actually eradicate the ants and prevent the ant infestation problem from happening again. We have come to method 3, and method 3 is actually to use an ant gel to poison the ants so that the ants actually bring the gel back to the colony and they actually poison and kill themselves, so the whole colony will actually die and they will no longer come to your cage to look for food. Yes, so the ant gel that I would recommend you to buy would be the one that is actually non-toxic for humans and actually safe for humans. So why? Because even though it's highly unlikely that your hamster will actually ingest the gel, I would say it is always best to be more careful. So I do not recommend using ant gels or any ant poison that actually contain borax or any other toxic chemicals that can actually cause harm to not only you but also your hamster. So that is another way that you can prevent the ants from ever returning. You can actually put it all around the cage so that the ants will actually feed on the gel instead, of course that will be more expensive. I would actually recommend using method 1 or 2 to protect your hamster from the ants so they cannot come into the cage, and then use the ant gel to actually eradicate the ants so that you don't have to use a temporary solution anymore. Yes, I hope that this video was helpful to you, and if you enjoyed it, please give me a like and a subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.